Welcome to Music from Humans, the show where we dive into the creative minds of today's composers and improvisers. I'm your host, Michael Cook, and today I'm thrilled to introduce Stephen Main, a remarkable composer, conductor, teacher, and multi-instrumentalist whose work spans choral, orchestral, and even film music. Stephen, a recipient of the John Ness Beck Award, his perspective is sure to offer a fresh and inspiring take on music making.
What are some techniques that you do to encourage that there's enough space and there's enough breathability in the improvisation?
Absolutely. And yeah, I was just thinking how absolutely true that is. You know, it's funny. My teacher, my organ teacher of blessed memory years ago, I wanted to play a certain organ literature piece, a repertory piece. I forget what it was, but it was slow and I really loved it. And I remember I was probably 17, and he sort of dismissively, he was a good guy, but he was dismissively said to me, "Oh, young people can't play slow music." And I thought, what? I mean, if anything, first I thought, what do you mean, old man? I mean, if anything, it's the fast music, I thought in my 17-year-old brain. That's the hard stuff, but slow music, slow, easy, right? What could be easier than slow? Now that I'm not a young organist, now I know what he meant. What he meant by that was establishing the space, right? He could play a single chord for an audience. And he'd have them in the pocket of his hand. They'd wait for everything. They'd be right there with him. He knew how to milk the space, how to put just a hair of delay between the third and the fourth chord, all these little magical things that it's really hard for people to just sort of glean that from just playing, their classical music on the page. You actually have to improvise. So that's a huge agreement with, I now understand the importance of space, and importantly, it doesn't have to do with overcomplicating. In fact, quite the reverse. Just as you said, knowing when to lay out. So one of the things that I found is sort of good training for learning how to work with space in your improv, and this is the other kind of improv in a way. We've talked a lot now about the hockey stick form and melodic form, AABA, always a reliable kind of form if you want to make a good melody. By the way, I tell people all the time, AABA is throughout music and you need to know about it, even if you don't want to use it, right? So that's A. A prime, here's the B. And so forth. And then it returns to the A in the end. If you ever feel like, I have nothing to throw at the audience, throw them something in that form. They always get it, right? Sonata
golden mean.
Wins every time. That's that kind of improv. And we've talked a lot about melodic structure, and we talked about motivic material. The other kind, and it's really good as a way of practicing and sort of building your skill set, is to work with chords. Right? And this is the other, and probably this is the oldest form of improv that there is. In my mind, the generic improvising form that most human beings have done, there you are, 1400, and you're sitting in the middle of a tavern somewhere, is that people are going to agree on a bass line or a chord structure, and they're just going to start improvising over it. And at some point, you may not even need to have people play the chord structure anymore. So I'll pull over the good old trusty harp for this. So if I'm going to do probably one of the oldest ones, which is a minor chord structure, so I'll tilt it down so you can see a little bit. If I go, that's probably one of the oldest, most venerable ones that you can do. There we are. Good. So now I've established that. Now, I only need to do this about one more time. Now, to your point, I can go like this. I don't need to do much. Because I'm not even playing with another musician. I'm simply playing with the audience's now understanding of the structure that I gave them. Yeah. I gave them a structure and they're good to go now. I could even just do. I haven't even used a bass line anymore.
Right. I think that creates, well, at least to me, that creates even a tension.
Yep.
Because you're like, what is going to happen?
Yep.
What is happening now? Okay, right. And so then when you come in with more notes and more things, it resolves itself and makes excitement at the same time. So, yeah.
That's right. And I remember years and years ago, back when I was in my days where I might go out to a dance club. I was in a dance club once, and I heard a very, very standard kind of approach that dance music does all the time, and I'd never thought about it. It did exactly what you just said. It was going along, and it was the usual kind of, dance club stuff, very repetitive because, hey, you got to service a crowd there for a long time. And then suddenly, and we've all heard this, they dropped out the drums. And just the synthesizer was going, like that. Not quite those chords, but something like that. They did 8 bars of that stuff. It's all in 8 bars. And then suddenly the drums come pounding in. That I was fascinated, right? I watched everybody around me. The dancers all danced that much harder. They did exactly what you just said. They removed material, which is a major skill as an improviser. Probably one of the hardest ones to get is to pry your little white knuckles away from the form and the structure that you're doing and allow that space. Trust the idea that the audience has absorbed it. A big part of improv is you're not just playing with your instrument, you're playing with people's understanding of a structure. Even if they say, oh, I'm not a musician, I don't know. Oh, yes, you do. You know all kinds of things in there, right? Because unless you've been living underwater, you've been hearing all kinds of Western musical cliches. You've been hearing resolved cadences all your life. So you know exactly what's coming next without really knowing what's coming next. And that's what an improviser is going to play with. So absolutely, allowing that space and trusting the fact that if you set it up well, the audience got that grid in the air, that invisible grid, and you can just lay the notes out on the grid and trust that they sort of feel where it's going.
Yeah, absolutely. And while, like I said, this works great for improvisation, I think it's key for even fully notated compositional pieces
Right.
is know when to pull instruments out, know when to drop out for a second, know when to, okay, I've been on this form for a while, everybody's kind of got to it. I'm going to stop it and change it, and then I'll come back to it. Just to, it's such a great tool for tension and release and get people's attention back. Even if it's you play the melody and you only play part of it, and then
Right.
the part where they would be playing is now space.
Right.
And then
right.
you bring about all those type of tricks work really well in my experience.